or evening, afternoon, whatever it is. I work weird hours and I'm legally blind, so um, there is a non-24 thing going on. Um, I'm looking at the chats, and usually I get absolutely nothing um, on the chats on most of the channels, but apparently ICB um, ICBM has some questions and would like to address them. If you're still there, it was apparently posted 21 minutes ago. I'm more of an interested to interact. Um, the whole idea of a chat for me is kind of new, so to be honest, I wasn't even expecting anybody to log on and ask questions, which is really cool. I welcome them. So I'm going to stay on and hope that people come back. Um, I want to talk about the Hamas caucus in Congress. All right. First of all, the very existence of a caucus that is known as the Hamas caucus in Congress is a contradiction to the very oath that a congressman takes when they are sworn into office to uphold the Constitution of the United States. Hamas is a known terrorist group. They are sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and from any threat, both foreign and domestic. So, representatives like Rashida Tlaib are actually guilty of treason by even supporting Hamas. Let me know in the chat if you disagree with that, if you can tell me of any constitutional exception to that rule. I'm very well versed in the Constitution, so this should be fun if you actually can. But I'd also like to know where you stand for Israel or against in this conflict. Apparently, there's very little on the left that actually understand that that Palestine never had ownership of the strip that is Israel. As a matter of fact, Israel has, or the Jewish people have had ownership of that land for, well, basically since antiquity, as recorded in the Bible and other sources. I refer to Josephus many times, but for those that actually will acknowledge the Bible, I don't think you have to have any question about that. Okay, I'm going to try something here. I'm still learning the software, so if it's glitches, I'm sorry. All right. Apparently, I do have access to a chat overlay. I'm learning more and more about this software and thinking that I actually like it. If anyone's interested, livestream.io is the software that I'm currently using, and actually very impressed with it. So, let's see here. What you doing, Susie?
Nothing big. What are you doing?
I'm talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you were interested in doing some homework?
On what?
First mentions of the Jewish people in Cana in the Bible.
First mention of the Jewish people?
In Cana. In the Bible.
Where is Cana supposed to be?
It's just above the strip that is Israel is now. It's Turkey now, but
in the Bible, I don't know for sure.
Well,
technically one of the references to Cana was where Cain, where the name came from.
Yeah.
Was sent after he was cast out of the garden.
Yes.
So if we want to go that far, Genesis.
Okay.
Considering Cain wasn't one of the original people.
True.
In the Bible, it even said, "Do not cast me out, for I can't stand to be that far from you, and people will track me down," that kind of stuff. And he mentions in the Bible where they would put a mark on Cain, and if anybody touched him, blah 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 blah. But technically, Cain was Jewish.
Yes, he was. But that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting at.
It's in the very beginning.
That's what I'm getting at. So the left's argument that that the Palestinian people have a legal claim to the area is actually mute. First of all, they never owned it. For a time, it was actually British occupied territory, and the UN gave it to Israel after the atrocities in World War II. The Palestinian people at that time were peacefully allowed to settle there, but because of different social conflicts and so on, basically the Palestinian people have a gripe against the Jews, and they want total extermination. So, yeah, I am not.
What does Palestine say its origins are?
Palestine.
Where do they stem from? What is their history?
Ishmael.
Ishmael.
Yeah.
Which again is connected to the Jews.
I know. They broke away and they became Islam, but
Ishmael was originally connected to Abraham.
I know.
So
I know the conflict is as old as time. But
Palestine technically is Jewish then.
But they got converted to Islam, and
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. It's just.
And for some reason, I'm not an expert. I mean, I've been over there, but I don't have a whole lot of time. It's not my expertise, but it is very interesting. Okay, for those in the chat, if you just leave questions for me, because my schedule is so random, I am not going to necessarily be able to address your questions all at the same time, or unless you hit me up when I actually am online. I am going to leave an email for you in the chat so you can ask me questions, and I will address them as I get them in the next live stream. It's kind of weird because I have a rather liquid work schedule. I'm currently a subcontractor for the Navy, and it makes it interesting. So I get on here when I can. But I am very interested in answering any questions that you actually do have. All right, so let's see here. So the existence of the Hamas caucus in Congress, the very fact that it is allowed to exist, tells you of the downfall of America as a nation in itself. People like Rashida Tlaib have actually been questioned by reporters when the atrocities on the Israeli people first happened. How do you react to the reports of children being beheaded and so on? And she just ignores the reporter and keeps walking. It is horrendous. But of course, this is a Democrat. By the very definition of a Democrat, you essentially have Nazis. They are the inspiration for the Nazi movement in World War II in Germany, and they are the founders of a Ku Klux Klan. You cannot dispute that. I'm leaving an author that I would really like you to read in the chat. He has a bunch of books. And by the way, this is a man from India. So it is not biased from a white person's point of view or whatever. Dinesh D'Souza wrote books from the point. He writes books from the point of view of Indian immigrant to America, and he is a very astute student of history. So when he writes the book Stealing America or The Big Lie or Hillary's America 2016 or what's his latest 2000 Mules, the stealing of the 2020 election, he actually gives you academic proof of, he cites everything about the statements that debunk the left's lie about their suddenly depolarizing to the right, and they're becoming a switch where the white supremacists became conservatives. I don't think it's very difficult to actually see that was never true. But the reality was that this is the issue. They're trying to hide their true beliefs and their historic reality, because their voter base is no longer the Southern plantation owner. Instead, it's the slaves themselves. It is very, very sad to actually see hardworking African American male disowned by his family because he woke up and heard Joe Biden actually say, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. So he votes for the other guy. And his entire family, all of his friends and everything else, say this is wrong. You're a race traitor, and so on. And yet, more and more,
I have no opinion on the African American situation because you weren't a slave. Your family weren't slaves.
Well,
Amala brought that up.
Well, let's address that. Let's address the having no opinion on the African American situation because your family wasn't slaves. Okay. The root of my name is Anatolisova. It stems from the Siberian region of Mimny in now modern day Russia. All right. Persians for 700 years. The Norse for 500 years. The Mongols for 700 years all enslaved the Siberian native people. Okay? The Irish have a long history of enslavement and indentured servitude. And the Germans and so on. It goes on down the line. The only difference is, and the Chinese in America were basically slaves.
Chinese now in China.
The Chinese Uyghurs, which the Uyghur population is Chinese Muslims that are currently slaves. So every population, no matter what your skin color, has seen some form of slavery on a personal level. The only difference between the African American and everybody else is everybody else won their freedom by blood. The African American apparently didn't have enough fortitude to slash and burn every white person that was within the vicinity and their generational heritage in order to win their freedom. So they never got over it. They became the victim class. The victim class is easily controlled. Okay? LBJ, Lyndon Baster Johnson, the president that killed Kennedy, was famously quoted as to saying, if this bill passes, we will have these niggers voting for us for the next 200 generations. All right. He was talking about the new society, the upgrade to the New Deal that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, known Nazi sympathizer, had already passed. They figured out that since racism was on the downcline and the plight of the African American was actually being heard by growing numbers of the voting base, that they had to figure out how to manipulate the African American in the hopes to get them to vote for the Democrat. So they made it very easy. We don't want you to work. We prefer that you don't. We will pay everything for you. All you have to do is keep us in power. Guys, I don't see it. I really don't. It is very sad. Very sad that this happens to be a reality. But it definitely was the reality. LBJ was honestly one of the worst men in history, along with Andrew Jackson, the founder of the Democrat Party. Ironically, Jackson, the president on the $20 bill, a Democrat, known slave owner, known racist, famous racist, had actually offended the Democrats to the point that they disowned him. And in 2020, they wanted to press Congress to remove Jackson from the $20 bill. So they admit their own, they admit the history of their own racism in the Democrat Party. And yet they try to push it off on the opposing party, the Republicans. I don't subscribe to either. I'm an anarchist. I do not believe that mankind should have a government at all. I believe that the only reason that we have wars is because old men in charge of government become corrupted and want to pad their pockets a little bit more. So the only true answer is to eliminate government and actually force people to live the life that they were supposed to live in peace with their brothers and sisters, and actually govern themselves. I don't foresee that happening, but that would be the perfect situation. Okay, I have left information on this video. I really hope that ICBM gets back to me in my email. If you do have any email or any questions, email me through the email that I left in the chat, and I will get back to you. Until next time, I'm Anatoliana Chalisova, and this is Patriots Must Rise. Please live free, die well, and unless your neighbor is a Democrat, love your neighbor as Christ has loved you. And if they are a Democrat, blow their house up.